In the following videos, we are going to learn how to enable our RESTful web service application accept HTTP requests that are sent from a different origin or from a different domain name. And in this video, I'm going to start two projects. One project is the one that we have created. This is our RESTful web service API, and it will start on port 8088. And then I have also created a very simple Java project using NetBeans. Let me bring it up. And when I run this project, it will also start on a different port. Both of the projects will run on a local host on my local computer, but because port number is different, it will be considered a different origin. So in the NetBeans, I have created a very simple web application that doesn't have any GSP pages or servlets. It has a couple of pages, and one of them is email verification. And this email verification is an HTML page. It doesn't have anything in it but a little JavaScript code in the header section here. I'm including jQuery because I want to send this HTTP request as asynchronous JavaScript. And also in the header section, I include a block of JavaScript code. And then I use jQuery to send asynchronous JavaScript to my RESTful web service API. Okay, so when I run this project, it will run in Tomcat on its own port. And when this email verification HTML page loads, it will trigger this JavaScript code. And when document is ready, it will call the JavaScript function called verify email. This function I have created right here below. You can come up with any other different name. So when verify email function is called, we create a settings object, and then we use the settings object in our AJAX request. And when it's done, this function will be called, and the response that our web service endpoint sends back will be logged into a console. Okay? So in the settings here, we configure that it's going to be an asynchronous request sent to the following URL, and this is the local host and then port number of my RESTful web services project. I will go back to it, and I have application properties file open, and here's the port number. It's called, the port number is 8088. So the request is going to be sent there, and then the context path of my RESTful web service application, which is defined right here, context path, and then /users, which is a mapping in my REST controller, and then /email verification, which is a mapping to a method in my RESTful controller that will be triggered here. It's a mapping that will be triggered when HTTP GET request is sent to this method, and it will expect one request parameter, which is called token. So if I go back to my URL here, it passes token HTTP request parameter, and the value doesn't really matter at this moment because we are testing HTTP request and response. And this HTTP request is going to be sent with HTTP GET. Okay, so now let me run this project. I will use NetBeans to run it. Select the project and then click on this play button. The project will start up shortly. Okay, the project is now started. It brought up me this page, localhost HTTP clients, and I'm not going to open the email verification HTML page. At this moment, I will go back to my Spring Tool Suite, and I will run my RESTful web service API on a different number, which is 8088. Okay, so I'll select the project and run it as a Spring Boot app. Let's bring up console so that we see that it started. Okay, so mobile application started on this port 8088. Okay, so now I will go back to Safari browser, which has the HTTP clients project opened. And before I open the email verification HTML page, I will bring up the developer console. So while my Safari is opened, I will go to Safari and then click on Preferences, and then in the Preferences at the top here we have different tabs. I will choose Advanced, and when Advanced is selected, at the bottom here you have Show develop menu in menu bar. So click on this. This will enable a new option here. It's called develop. If you uncheck it, it disappears. And when you check it back, you have this develop option. Okay, so I'll leave it checked, close it, and I'll go to develop, and then I'll choose show web inspector. That will bring up a web inspector panel, and this will allow me to see the network requests that are being sent from this page, and it will allow me to see the console if there are any errors or outputs, and it will allow me to debug the HTML page that I have and set breakpoints. Okay, so let me go and then type in the address of my email verification page. I'll just look up the spelling. So I'll bring up NetBeans. The page is called email-verification. Go back to my Safari, email-verification HTML. So I'll hit enter, and that will load this page. So here's the source code of this page. I see my JavaScript, and it's already read that something went wrong. So I will go to console, and I'll check the response. So it says that the origin, a localhost 8084, is not allowed. So my HTTP clients project and this email verification HTML page is running on port 8084, and it's trying to send a synchronous JavaScript request to my RESTful web service application, which is running on port 8088. And because port numbers are different, this is already considered a different origin. And how do I know that my HTTP client is running on port 8084? I can switch back to NetBeans, and then I can click on this HTTP clients tab, which started when I run the project, and it tells me here that Tomcat started on this domain name and this port number and this context path. Okay, so we see a problem. We see that we were not allowed to receive a response from our RESTful web service because the request was sent from a different origin. So let's work with it, and let's enable our RESTful web service accept HTTP requests that are sent from a different origin, and then respond back so that our JavaScript application that sends a request is able to receive response.